Hi, this is Alex from ninjateacher.com and welcome to Hong Kong. Look at that skyline behind me. Pretty spectacular, right? So I've been in Hong Kong for about a week now and I thought I'd share some of my experiences of what the city is like, give you a little bit of a guide to teaching English out here, what the opportunities are like for that, as well as what the city is like, some things about housing, expenses, food, getting around, and just things to do out here in Hong Kong. So as you can see, I'm wearing a suit. Out here in Hong Kong, it seems like every second person is basically wearing a suit, which is kind of crazy. It's really nice. It's got a very developed feel to it. It's very cosmopolitan. There's people from all over the world. It's got a great energy. It's only about 7 million population. You know, it's not that far from mainland China. So Shenzhen is the closest city. And the main languages here are English and Cantonese, as well as Mandarin, which is also growing quite a lot apparently. English is actually well spoken here as it is an official language. So most people do speak English very well. So you might be wondering why there's a demand for English teachers. Well, you know, in most Asian countries, there is a demand for English education. You know, most people are learning it, even if it is a country where the level of English is quite high. So that's the case for Hong Kong. So yeah, just to give you a quick breakdown of the geography a little bit, I'm here in KOWLOON, and on the other side of the harbor here, you can see Hong Kong Island. So Hong Kong Island is the financial center of the city, and that's where a lot of the action's going on. That's where I spend most of my time. And on this side is KOWLOON, and then further out that way are the new territories, which is a little bit further outside of where everything's going on. Then I'll get into a little bit more detail on money and how much things cost, but Hong Kong Island is more expensive in general, and as you get further away from the center, it gets a little bit cheaper. So the first thing I really want to cover is the requirements for teaching out in Hong Kong, and just to let you know how it is quite competitive out here. So this is not typically the kind of place that you would come to get your first teaching English job. Now, I've covered places that are good for that in my other videos about Vietnam, for example, and that's great because you can just, you know, come out there, get a TEFL certification, and quite easily find a job. Versus here, the requirements do seem to be a lot higher and the jobs are more competitive. And typically, if you are new, you're going to get a lower salary. And as I'm going to get into, it's quite expensive to live out here without earning a good salary. So what do you need to know? Well, typically you have to have a bachelor's degree, be from a native English speaking country, and they want to see usually a teaching license or bachelor's in education or an MA in TESOL, something along those lines, and previous teaching experience. Now, is this a hard and fast rule? Well, not necessarily. As all things, there are exceptions. And some people can find jobs with lower qualifications, such as at English centers here. You could possibly get a job with just a bachelor's degree and a TEFL. But if you want the high paying jobs, typically this is the place you want to come after you've been teaching for a few years in other countries. So that being said, how much can you earn teaching English out here? Well, typically salaries are going to be about 20,000 to 50,000 Hong Kong dollars. Somewhere in that range. I know that's quite a big range, but they do vary. That's about 2,500 to 6,500 US dollars. Which schools are going to offer you more? Well, typically, if you're in a better district, if you're more qualified, they are going to pay you more because it's more expensive in those areas. So I'm actually taking the ferry now across from KOWLOON to Hong Kong Island, and this is an easy way to get across. And talking of transportation, it is very good in Hong Kong. The famous red taxis here are relatively cheap compared to other expenses here. There's a really good subway system. So you can also walk along these overhead walkways and you can get all around the central area on this. And as you can see down there, there's also these little double-decker trams, which are pretty interesting. So I just had some lunch and had an amazing bowl of noodles. Typically I've found local kind of Chinese food will cost $4 or $5 a meal. And if you eat out at high-end restaurants though, some of those are insanely expensive, like $40 US a meal. So yeah, it can get quite expensive when you're eating. Apparently a lot of people do eat out here. Not that many people cook at home from what I've been told. So there's a big culture of going out to eat. So right now I'm here in the central district of Hong Kong Island. And I was just up in Soho, which is an area that's really nice. At night I went there. It was great, little bars and cafes, lots of restaurants. That's quite an expensive area to live. A friend of mine actually lived there a while ago, and he said that he was only on the first third of the building, so it gets more and more expensive as you go up. And he paid about, how much was it? 70,000 Hong Kong dollars per month rent, which is insane. It's over 10,000 US dollars, I think. And that is what you pay if you want something with like a prime view and a really good location, right, in the sense of everything. On the other hand, of course, there's cheaper places. That was a 2-bedroom as well. A teacher I know out here, she mentioned that she lived also in kind of like a central area and paid about 12,000 dollars, Hong Kong dollars. So that's a little bit better. So going back to the teaching details a little bit, it's quite similar to a lot of countries in Asia, typically 1 year or sometimes 2-year contracts, but with a bonus at the end, typically a couple of weeks of off time, of leave, and sick days and public holidays. So what about different areas of Hong Kong and other things to do out here? Well, Wan Chai is the area just to the east of this, I think, or that direction, and that is a kind of party district where you can go out and have like a good night out. Apparently it just stays open really late, everything. Not everything, but you can stay out very late. There'll always be something open, and from my experience of going out, it wasn't slowing down at all when I started to go home quite late a few nights. As for other things to do, you can go and check out the Symphony of Lights. That was amazing. You can see all the buildings lit up across the harbor. So you're on the KOWLOON side and then you look out over Hong Kong Island and you see all the lit up lights and they play some music. That's very cool. Going up to Victoria Peak is great. Beautiful view of the city, just absolutely insane. When you're up there, you can just go to the observation deck and check out the view. There's also a lot of beaches here, surprisingly. It doesn't look like it, but if you just go around to the other side of the island, there's beaches there, and it's not that far. You can get there in like 15-20 minutes, I think. Then just to mention a quick alternative is, of course, China, which is, you know, not that far away, and there's tons of cities there that are huge, very developed. I mean, there's all the tier 1 cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and just like a lot going on in China in terms of teaching English jobs. And in China, on the other hand, it's less hard to get a good job there because the requirements aren't so strict and there are a lot of jobs, there's more demand. So I'm going to be talking a little bit more about China in the future because this channel is about teaching English, and it would be remiss not to talk about China because it is a huge market. But yeah, I thought I'd make this video while I was out here, show you guys a little bit about Hong Kong. It's a great city, very developed, very vibrant, a lot going on, very fancy. You know, I really like the way everyone dresses up. Everyone's really fashionable and trendy. There's a great feel to the city and it's just so developed. I love the first world feel of it. It feels like it's got everything going on. Everything works really well. So yeah, it might be a great option for you if you have some experience and you are interested in coming to a place that's a little bit different from, say, Southeast Asia. Want something a little bit more refined, I guess you could say. Of course, there's lots of awesome stuff going on in Vietnam and Thailand and Cambodia, but this is a different kind of thing, you know. And when I lived in South Korea, I really enjoyed that, and then I lived in Vietnam and I enjoyed that. and I like different aspects of it, and different places were good for different times of my life. So I feel like this could be a good option for a lot of you that have started teaching and then want to change it up. You got to consider that it is competitive, especially for the high-paying jobs and in the good locations. But if you find a good job, you could give it a shot. And if you are interested in getting started teaching English in Asia, head over to ninjateacher.com and chat to us about options, and we'll be sure to help you out. So until the next video, I'll speak to you then. Peace.